You know, every great business starts with a plan, right? But what does one of those actually look like on the inside? Well, today we're going to tear one down. We're going inside the real-world business plan for a small startup called Works in Bhaktapur, Nepal, to see exactly how they plan to turn a great idea into a real breathing business. And right from the jump, this is what it's all about. This is their mission. It's not some grand plan for global domination. Nope, it's simple. Serve the local community, give them a valuable service, and do it at a fair price. That kind of laser focus is so important because it becomes the North Star for every single decision they make down the line. All right, so here's how we're going to walk through their blueprint. First, we'll meet the people with the dream. Then, we'll check out exactly what they're selling. After that, we'll dive into who their customers are and how they plan to reach them. Then comes the money part, the startup costs. And finally, we'll look at how they see the future playing out. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the people. Because behind every business plan, there are real human beings who see a problem or an opportunity in their own backyard and decide to do something about it. This is where the whole story really kicks off. So who's running the show? Well, it's this awesome duo. You've got Mrs. Urjula Bhadrakacharya, who's the manager, and the sole owner. She's the business brain of the operation. And then you have Mr. Prabal Bhadrakacharya, the trained, skillful technician. He's the hands-on expert. Man, that combination of business sense and technical skill, that's a classic recipe for small business success. So what's their secret sauce? What makes them stand out? Well, according to their own plan, it's this little sentence right here. They believe they are the only computer shop in the area that also provides technical service. And that is a huge deal. It means they're not just another print shop, they're problem solvers. That's a powerful edge to have. All right, so we've got the team, we've got their unique angle, but what can you actually walk in and buy from ComputerWorks? Let's take a look at what they're offering. A big piece of their business is all about custom printing. You know, things like personalized t-shirts, cushions, and coffee cups. And check out that magic cup. That's probably one of those cool mugs where the image appears when it gets hot. That's a fun, catchy product that can really get people talking. And just for context, these prices are in Nepalese rupees. But, and this is key, they are so much more than just a gift shop. This list shows their real depth. We're talking essential stuff like helping students with thesis writing, fixing laptops, hardware maintenance, even networking services. Plus the day-to-day things like photocopying and making ID cards. This diverse mix is really smart. It gives them a bunch of different ways to make money and helps them connect with all sorts of customers. So they have some great services. Now for the million-dollar question, how do they find the people who actually need them? This is where we get into their market analysis and their strategy. When they're figuring out who to sell to, they start big, like really big. The total population of their city, Bhaktapur, is just over 300,000 people. Think of this as the top of a giant funnel, everyone who could possibly be a customer. But you can't market to everyone, right? So they start to narrow that funnel down. They've identified their ideal customers as adults between 25 and 60 years old. That group makes up about 37% of the city. Why them? Well, they're the most likely to need these services and have the money to pay for them. And this is where their plan gets really smart and, really realistic. After they filter for things like income and people who are already loyal to other shops, they get down to an initial target market of about 1,000 people. Going from over 300,000 all the way down to 1,000 shows they've actually thought this through and have a focused, achievable goal. So how do they reach these 1,000 people? Well, they've got a super clear two-step plan. Step 1 is just about making noise, using ads and events so people even know they exist. But step 2 is the really interesting part. They plan to educate their customers. And I love that they specifically use the word respectfully. That tells you they're in this to build trust and long-term relationships, not just to make a quick buck. Okay, a plan is great, but you need cash to make it happen, right? So now we're getting into the financial core of this thing. What's it going to cost to actually open the doors? The magic number they need to get this whole thing off the ground is 600,000 Nepalese rupees. This is the loan they're trying to get to fund everything, from the equipment to the rent to turning the lights on for the very first time. So where is all that money going? This chart spells it out pretty clearly. A massive 75%, 3/4 of the entire loan, is going straight into equipment and inventory. The actual stuff they need to do the work. The other 25% covers all the other general startup costs. This heavy investment in physical assets is pretty typical for a hands-on business like this. So let's make that 75% more real. What are we really talking about here? We're talking about the essentials, like computers, a special sublimation printer for the custom merch, and a heat press. But look at the biggest single item on this list, 150,000 rupees just for furniture and fixtures. It's a great reminder that creating a professional, welcoming space for customers is a huge investment in itself. All right, they've got the money figured out. They know what they're spending it on. Now for the most important question of all. Can this business actually make money? Let's dig into their financial forecast. Here it is. This is their big goal for year one. The number they're aiming for is 225,000 rupees in total sales. This is their target, the number that's going to drive everything they do in that first year. So how do they get to that 225,000 rupee number? This chart breaks it all down. You can see right away they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. But look here. A couple of services are clearly expected to be the heavy hitters: PVC ID card design and the custom t-shirt and cup printing. They're each projected to bring in 50,000 rupees. And of course, it's not just about year one. You gotta have a plan for the future, right? This chart shows their vision for steady growth. They're forecasting a solid 10% increase in sales every year after the first one, hoping to get over 272,000 rupees by the end of year 3. The whole idea is that as their reputation grows, so will their sales. Okay, but here's the thing about any forecast. It's all based on some pretty big what-ifs. And their plan is honest about this. Their success really depends on a few things they can't control. That no direct competitor pops up next door, that the local population keeps growing, that tourists keep visiting Bhaktapur, and that people just generally stay interested in what they sell. These are the risks, the wild cards that could change everything. So when you pull it all together, what we're really seeing here is more than just a document. It's a detailed roadmap. It's how a local dream from two entrepreneurs gets a backbone, gets turned into a real data-driven strategy. It really shows you the power of thinking things through. And all this leaves us with one final big thought. Their whole plan kind of relies on being the only game in town. So it makes you wonder, and it's a critical question for any small startup: what happens the day a new competitor opens its doors right across the street? How does that change the game entirely?